The hearing is over. The FBI probe has begun, and the Democrats have changed their approach. I'm Scott Ott with Bill Whittle Now. And Bill, as we go into this week-long festivity that the Democrats are enjoying of the probe of the life of a kind of a no-holds-barred probe, by the way, of the life of Judge Brett Kavanaugh, the president's Supreme Court nominee. The issue has changed now in the Democrat talking points to be one about Kavanaugh's drinking. Now, nobody says that if Brett Kavanaugh drank to excess as a teen, that would disqualify him as a Supreme Court nominee. However, a lot of people on the left are saying that if Judge Brett Kavanaugh lied as a 53-year-old federal judge in sworn testimony to the Senate Judiciary Committee about drinking as a teen, then that would disqualify him. Why are they wrong, Bill?
Well, just the fact that they're backing off of the charges made by Dr. Ford tells me that they know how flimsy those things are. They're certainly playing well with the far left cadre of comrades, but I think most people are able to look at these two people and say maybe something happened to her, maybe it didn't. It looks like maybe it did. But it doesn't appear to be this guy, and she certainly can't place it. I'm not trying to be the psychologist here, but the thing I find most astonishing about her claims is that I can understand not being able to pin the time down exactly because time is kind of fluid. But I don't know about you, Scotty, but I knew where I was. I could tell you within a foot. I could go right back out there right now and tell you within a foot of where I was when I heard that the Challenger exploded, where I was when I heard the Columbia burned up. I could show you exactly where I was sitting when I heard that Princess Di was killed. I could tell you where I was when I heard Michael Jackson was killed. I know certainly where I was on 9/11. I know where I was when I heard the news that my father died. These kind of things lead me to believe that that most of the people on the left understand that this is not a charge they want to go with. And look, Scotty, it's so straightforward. If this woman's story was really credible, then either Feinstein or any of the other people on the Judiciary Committee would have raised it. They would have raised it, and they didn't.
But what they've effectively done, Bill, is they've now made you grasping at a slippery fish because the subject has changed. The subject is now not so much whether or not something happened between Christine Ford and Judge Kavanaugh, although that's being investigated now by the FBI. They've suddenly changed the question of, can we trust the testimony of a guy who lies about the fact that he was actually a pretty heavy drinker when he was a teenager, and he's not willing to fess up to it now?
Well, I don't think there's any evidence that he was a heavy drinker when he was a teenager. And so what they've done, Scotty, and what you've just repeated is they've gone from one slur to another. And it's also unsubstantiated. And so we have to understand that this is what's happening. To me, it tells me that they don't have confidence in the one that really had the potential to hurt him. And furthermore, it's just another indication of how desperate they are and how they'll be willing to go to any lengths. If they think that a college kid who drank a bit of beer at a college party or even a few college parties is disqualified from anything of any integrity after that point in his life, then they've already lost the culture war. They're the squares. But we know that we know let's stop screwing around. Let's stop screwing around. It's about abortion. It's about Roe versus Wade. It's about a desperate attempt to find anything that you can throw into the machine's gears to postpone this thing past the election and presumably postpone it until Donald Trump runs in 2020. It's simply so transparent. And the depths to which they are stooping, the absolute lack of any sense of decency like I said on a previous episode, guys like Lindsey Graham said that if this continues, then good men won't go into government. And I want to just grab Lindsey by the lapels gently because I've got a lot of respect for him lately and say, Lindsey, that's one of the benefits for them. That's one of the things they like about it. Of course they want to keep people with character and integrity out of government and out of politics. People with integrity vote their conscience, not the way they're told to vote. People of integrity will take a stand on something. And people of integrity, generally speaking, understand that when they swear an oath to protect the Constitution of the United States, that means that they promise to, protect the Constitution of the United States and not swear an oath saying that you're going to protect it when your entire goal is to destroy it or subvert it. So The drinking things won't stick because the FBI has been down this road 6 times. Nothing. So what we'll find during the course of Flake Week is we will find that as these begin to lose their luster, they'll move the goalposts again. It'll be something else. Maybe it'll be a tax issue. Maybe it'll be some kind of a period in his time when he was depressed and took antidepressants. As far as I'm concerned, the man should have an unlimited supply of antidepressants for the rest of his life, paid for by the taxpayers after what's been done to him. And what's been done to him, Scott, is this. This is who we're up against. I've been making this argument forever. We say we're this is a political. It's not a political argument. It's not a political disagreement. This is knife fighting in a phone booth. Did you see the picture of Judge Kavanaugh with that girl's? Was it a basketball team?
Yeah, I've seen a group shot. I didn't click through on it, but I did see a group shot.
Here's what the left is tweeting. They've got a picture of Judge Kavanaugh smiling, a bunch of girls smiling. I cannot remember. It's probably a basketball team.
I think he coached basketball.
Okay. And below that, a couple of liberal commentators, the one that I remember most clearly said, maybe until we get the results of this FBI hearing, maybe this guy shouldn't be on the court with little girls.
It occurs to me that one of our leaders of the past was able to credibly stand up in front of his supporters and say that he didn't inhale, and that he was not pilloried for that.
He did inhale.
What's that?
He did inhale.
Yeah, well, apparently he said he did not inhale. Yes. So
look, so these are the rules. These are the rules in 21st century America. If you're a Democrat, you can rape people like former President Clinton did. You can be a fall-down alcoholic like Hillary Clinton, who was too drunk to give a concession speech on the night of her classic loss to Donald Trump. And not only these things not be reported, they'll be covered up. If, on the other hand, you did something, let me tell you what the lowest part of this is, Scotty. Every single one of the things that Kavanaugh's accused of, I don't think he did any of them, but every single one of them would be misdemeanors, and they would be sealed in his juvenile record, right? In other words, if he'd actually been caught doing any of these things, he would have gone to juvenile court, and those records would have been sealed, and they would not be admissible in this court case, which is what it's become. It's not a confirmation hearing, it's a trial, it's a witch hunt. Why is it that, it's my friend Jeremy's point, it's a superb point. Why is it that we seal juvenile records, Scott?
To give people a second chance, I would
you think that's it, Scott? Is that it? You think that's it? You think that if you're under 18 years old, we're willing to say that some of the decisions you make before you become an adult are the result of teenage decision making, and therefore don't have to follow you around for the rest of your life? Is that the basis of juvenile law in this country?
Let me ask you.
Because it seems like a pretty good idea to me.
Let me ask you a final question and take a slightly different turn with it. President Trump has been unusually circumspect through almost this entire process, although with occasional outbursts. He has actually broadened the scope of the FBI investigation. He said he doesn't want to take any longer, but the FBI can talk to whomever they please. He has said that the women should be heard. He has said the Senate should follow its process. And so he has been very laid back about this whole thing. And it occurs to me, Bill, that your defense of Judge Kavanaugh is a lot more vigorous than the guy who nominated him. What should the president be doing right now?
President should be being quiet right now is what he should be doing. And I'm very happy and proud that he has the sense to stay out of this, because all he's going to do is increase the emotion level, and the emotion level on this needs to come down. But I'll ask you, and I'll ask the viewers a question. Whose hand do you think is stronger? Forget the fact that we don't know, but whose hand do you think is stronger? The Democrats leaked this letter at the 11th hour. They could have played that card anytime during the 60 days that they had the information, but they didn't do it. They leaked it as a desperation maneuver at the 11th hour. They told this woman, Dr. Ford, that she had to come to Washington, when in point of fact, the Republicans said to her, well, we're happy to fly out there and interview you in California. We know about your terrible fear of flying and all the rest, so we're happy to come out there and talk to you. She did not know that until either today or Friday. She said she didn't know that she was allowed to testify or give her story back home, because the Democrats didn't tell her. And the reason the Democrats didn't tell her was they didn't want these questions being asked off camera. They didn't want these questions being asked in private. They wanted the crying woman being drilled by white males so they can sell their narrative. And so what has essentially happened, and this is not my unique observation, Scott, but the Democrats have used and destroyed Dr. Ford's life as much as they've destroyed Judge Kavanaugh's life. And they don't care. They don't care. You think. At some point they're going to go, oh, wait a minute, hold on, that can't be right. They can't pop. She's on their side. There is nobody on their side. Power's on their side. That's the only thing that's on their side. It's the only thing that matters. That's why the left always eats its own. That's why the leftist revolutions always execute the old Bolsheviks. That's why it always happens this way. It's nothing but power for these people. And so if she says, I'd like to keep this confidential, and the Republicans say, great, which is what factually happened, great, we'll come out and talk to you privately. And then Dr. Ford gets told by the Democrats that, oh, no, you're going to have to come out in Washington to do it. And she didn't even know that the offer was on the table until a week after her life has been destroyed. This is what we're dealing with. This is who we're fighting. And buddy, I got to tell you, I don't know, but I saw Ted Cruz going after Dianne Feinstein today. I saw Lindsey Graham saying, and as soon as the FBI investigation into Kavanaugh's finished, we're going to open an investigation on how this information was leaked, who leaked it, and how this debacle occurred. And it could be that this is Stalingrad in this culture war. It feels like Stalingrad. So the question is, do we stop them here? Or don't we?
For those viewers who are not as well read up on history, can you briefly tell me what you mean by Stalingrad?
The German army in World War II annexed a number of countries through political means. They got the Sudetenland by intimidation and bullying. They got Czechoslovakia by intimidation and bullying. They assumed that they could get Poland through intimidation and bullying, but that didn't work, so they had their blitzkrieg. So the German army overruns Poland in a couple of weeks, overruns France in 6 weeks, is unbeatable, unstoppable, invincible. Wehrmacht goes into Russia in 41, and then Hitler spends a winter there, and then the Germans continue their advance, and they would have been able to cut the Soviet Union into and put Russia out of the war if they had taken the city of Stalingrad, which controls the river, the Volga. And it came down to the Russians holding out to an area that's probably about the size of a basketball court in one area, and then another area that might be the size of perhaps a school playground. And if they hadn't stopped them there, then we'd all be speaking German now. And the people who are trying to do this to Judge Kavanaugh are doing their very best to make sure that we'd be speaking Russian as soon as possible. So that's a very good lesson to have if you're going to launch a communist dictatorship, which is entirely their goal here. Scott, this government, you know this better than I do. The United States government was designed for one fundamental purpose, and that is...
Oh, are you asking?
I am.
To protect the rights of the individual from people in government, mostly.
By doing what?
By putting limits on where government can go.
And by dispersing power.
Yes.
Okay, dispersing power. So we have a government that effectively checks the ambitions of people that want to be barons and earls and shahs and sultans and potentates and all the rest of it. We have a system that's designed to stop them. They hate the system, and that's why it must be destroyed. And the way you destroy a rule of law, the law that is designed to keep power from the hands of too many individuals and spread it out among a wider group of miscreants, is a little upsetting to them. So what is it that they're trying to do here? They're trying to make the entire rule of law obsolete, because, Scott, if this comes down to an emotional vote, instead of the fact that it simply should have been thrown out in the first place, it was thrown out in the first place. They didn't play the card. They had the card, they didn't play it. This is the most low down, dirty, nasty, venal thing. And that's why it feels like it might be Stalingrad for them, because it is so desperate on the part of these Nazis, these left-wing Nazis. It's so desperate that I'm really beginning to think that they may pay a big price for this. And I'll say this in conclusion. If it turns out that Brett Kavanaugh is not confirmed for the Supreme Court, I'm certainly going to, and I think everybody in the country ought to be saying that the election coming up in a month is going to be the Kavanaugh election. We're going to do this one for Brett Kavanaugh. We're going to do it for Brett Kavanaugh. We're going to do it for the family of Brett Kavanaugh. And we're going to do it for every single person who was innocent and accused on the basis of nothing more than slanders and slurs, who've had their lives destroyed by these miserable, horrible, dreadful, honor-free, misery-soaked, rotten scoundrels. And that's the only version of what I'm really thinking that I can get out there in public, Scotty. We'll see. But if it turns out that Kavanaugh doesn't make it, and even if he does, this election now in November is the Kavanaugh election. And the election will be about, it's not going to be about Supreme Court picks. It's not going to be about holding the Congress. It's not going to be about any of that stuff. It's going to be about, is there a rule of law left in America, yes or no? And if you're one of those people who are horrified and shocked by what you see, then it's just a matter of time until they come for you. They've come for me already. And it's not a fun trip, by the way. So if you don't get out and vote all the way down the ticket and grab everybody else you get and get out there and vote down the ticket, then we'll have deserved what's coming for us.
Well, there's only two things I know for fairly certain. One is that we will soon know the outcome of this process. And two is that we'll be talking about it with Bill Whittle on Bill Whittle Now. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making Bill Whittle Now possible. Please join us as a member by clicking over to BillWhittle.com. If you'd like to check out more episodes of this show, make sure you hit that notification button on YouTube so that you get those emails and don't miss a single episode. For Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making this possible.